Russia-Ukraine war live. Moscow believes Kyiv will accept its demands, avers Kremlin spokes. The Russian war has now stepped into day 92 with a worrying death toll in Ukraine. Moscow claimed that the special operation was begun to stop genocide in East Ukraine. The EC president has accused Russia of weaponizing food supplies as Moscow refused to step back from the Black Sea ports. Meanwhile, pro-Russian authorities in Kherson requested a military base in the area. Poland may purchase HIMARS launchers to add more muscles to its military. As the Russian offensive continues in Poland's neighboring country, the Polish defense minister said Warsaw is planning to add more advanced lethal weapons to its. According to the social media post of Minister Mariusz Błaszczak, he has signed a letter of recommendation, LOR, inquiry regarding the acquisition of about 500 M142 HIMARS launchers. Only 2% of Ukrainian citizens have good attitude toward Russia, survey. As the Russian offensive continues in Ukraine, the majority of Ukrainians now possess a negative attitude toward according to a survey by the Kyiv International Sociology Institute. 92% of Ukrainians have a negative attitude towards Russia, while only 2% have a positive attitude towards Russia. Earlier, before the war, 34% of Ukrainians had a positive attitude towards Russia. Zelensky thanks Finnish PM for visiting Ukraine, urges to invoke sixth package of sanctions. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked Finnish Prime Minister Sanna Marin for lending unconditional support to Ukraine. The head of state stressed the need to introduce the next, sixth package of sanctions against Russia by the EU as soon as possible. These are very important direct signals of support, first of all for the Ukrainian people, our people, who see that they are not alone with the difficult challenges of today, he said. Finnish PM arrives in Ukraine, holds meeting with Zelensky. Amid the relentless war in Ukraine, Finland Prime Minister Sanna Marin arrived in the war-torn country on Thursday and held an official meeting with the delegation. According to reports by multiple Ukrainian media, the 36-year-old PM met Zelensky in the presidential palace before heading to other places in the country. Meanwhile, while holding a high-level meeting, Zelensky stressed that Finland's military assistance is very valuable to deter the aggression of Russian forces. Putin says Russia able to solve main tasks in import substitution. Russian President Vladimir Putin, while addressing the first Eurasian Economic Forum virtually on Thursday, said the country was able to solve the major assignments in import substitution in key areas that ensure the sovereignty of the country. However, he acknowledged all the goals were not accomplished and added there is nothing to worry about. Moscow believes Ukraine will accept its demands, Kremlin spokesperson. Kremlin on Thursday said it believes Ukraine will accept its demands including, claims on occupied territories. The Kyiv Independent Kremlin press secretary Dmitry Peskov said the Russian-occupied territories were not territorial concessions, despite knowing President Volodymyr Zelensky had on several occasions, said he won't give up any of his territories. Scholz says Putin will negotiate once he realizes Ukraine's defense cannot be breached. Amid the ongoing ravaging war in Eastern Europe, the German Chancellor claimed that Russian President Vladimir Putin will only consider negotiating peace talks in case his troops fail to break Ukraine's defenses. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, Olaf Scholz further claimed that Russia will not will the ongoing war, and any peace agreement should not be based on Russian President Putin. There will be no dictated peace. Ukraine will not accept this and neither will we, Scholz stated, as per The Independent. Russia tells Ukraine to accept real situation. The Kremlin says it expects Ukraine to recognize the existing situation and accept Moscow's demand. When asked if Russia expects Ukraine to make territorial concessions, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that Moscow expects the acceptance of its demands and the understanding of the real situation that exists. Russia has previously demanded that Ukraine recognize the Russian sovereignty over the Crimean Peninsula that Moscow annexed from Ukraine in 2014 and acknowledge the independence of Russia-backed separatist regions in eastern Ukraine. Belarusian president accuses U.S., Europe and NATO of initiating global confrontation with Russia. Belarusian President, Alexander Lukashenko, while speaking at the meeting of the Ministry of Defense on issues of ensuring military security, accused NATO, the US and Europe of invoking global confrontation. According to America's plan, Europe and NATO have entered into a global confrontation with Russia. Lukashenko's press service quoted Lukashenko as saying, Russia reports destroying Ukraine targets. The Russian military says it has destroyed a large Ukrainian unit with equipment at a railway station in the east. Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Major General Igor Konashenkov said Thursday that the Russian warplanes hit the railway station in Pokrovsk when an assault brigade that arrived to reinforce the Ukrainian forces in the region was unloading there. Konashenkov also said that the Russian military destroyed Ukraine's electronic intelligence center in Dniprovsk in the southern Mykolaiv region, killing 11 Ukrainian soldiers and 15 foreign experts. His claims couldn't be independently confirmed. Russia shares footage of debris removal in Mariupol. Russia's emergency ministry released a video on Thursday of workers and heavy machinery moving rubble and debris from a damaged building in Mariupol. The ministry said, in recent days, workers had cleared an area of 55,000 square meters and removed more than 60,000 cubic meters of rubble and debris. Russia now has full control of Mariupol, following a nearly 3-month siege that ended with the surrender last week of the last Ukrainian fighters who were holed up in the port city's giant steel plant. Estonia asserts it is naive to consider Russia as part of Europe's security framework. Amid the ongoing ravaging war in Eastern Europe, Estonian President Taylor Karas stated that it is naive to consider Russia as part of Europe's security framework rather than a threat to the continent. He made this remark at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Russia, which has started a full-scale war to conquer Ukraine, does not want to take responsibility for peace and stability in Europe but aims to undermine said stability and security. Therefore, Russia is now a threat to European security architecture, he noted, ER News reported. Google disables global cache servers that provide fast content loading in Russia. Amid the ongoing war, search engine, Google has terminated its contracts with Russian Internet Service Providers, ISPs, that enable their customers to use Google Global Cache servers for faster loading of data, RBC reported. According to the report, the measure taken by the search engine has started affecting the users who are using small operators for internet usage. However, some big giants like Rostelecom, MTS and Megafon are still using the Google Cache service. Those companies which are barred from using Google Cache services are plunged into the anti-Russian sanctions list, resulting in the cancellation of their contracts. According to the report, war in Ukraine is a danger to everyone in Europe, says Kyiv's mayor. Kyiv's mayor Vitaly Klitschko on Thursday said the war in Ukraine is a danger to everyone in Europe, labeling the conflict with Russia a huge tragedy. He told the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland that troops in the country were not just defending their families but were fighting to defend all of you. Russian forces kill 6 and injure 12 in Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts. Russian shelling in Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts left at least 6 people dead and another 12 injured on Wednesday. According to the Ukrainian military, the deadly attack destroyed and damaged 52 residential buildings and other civilian infrastructure, including a school. Belarusian president reaches Moskva meeting on security. President of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, on Thursday, reached the Ministry of Defense for a meeting on military security. According to media reports, a military exercise just 60 kilometers from the Ukrainian border will begin today in Brest. Kuleba dials his French counterpart, urges imposing sanctions on Russian energy. Ukraine Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba on Thursday held a telephonic conversation with his French counterpart Catherine Colonna, where the latter assured of providing support to the war. According to a Twitter post of Kuleba, the duo also discussed imposing further pressure on Russia, including an oil embargo, and Ukraine's EU candidate status. World Bank president warns of global recession amid Russia-Ukraine war. Amid ruthless Russia's invasion of Ukraine, World Bank President David Malpass, on Wednesday, warned it could trigger global recession. The president noted that Europe, China, and the US witnessed slower growth amid the ongoing war. He also stressed that the developing countries are witnessing a shortfall in fertilizer, food stocks, and energy supplies hit developing countries. US rejects Russia's suggestion of lifting sanctions in exchange for unblocking Ukrainian ports. In another blow to the Putin administration, the United States has rejected the proposal of unblocking Ukrainian ports in exchange for lifting sanctions. While addressing a press conference, U.S. Department of State spokesman Ned Price called the suggestion worthless in order to control inflation. He said the best way to keep the soaring prices under control is to end the brutal war. Russia's air forces failed to secure tactical regions of Ukraine, claims UK military report. The British Ministry of Defense, in its daily update on the Ukraine war, highlighted how the Russian Air Force failed in securing the victory in several notable tactical regions of Ukraine. The UK Defence Military Intelligence said that Russian airborne troops or the VDV have been widely involved in the ongoing war. However, it noted that the heavily loaded Russian Air Force faced major defeats in ensuring tactical regions of the war-torn country. This includes the attempted advance on Kyiv via Hostomel airfield in March, the stalled progress on the Izium axis since April, and the recent failed and costly crossings of the Siversky Donets River. The Mod said Zelensky rejects Kissinger plan to concede territories. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Wednesday strongly rebuffed those in the West who have suggested Ukraine cede control of areas occupied by Russian forces for the sake of reaching a peace. Those great geopoliticians who suggest this are disregarding the interests of ordinary Ukrainians, the millions of those who actually live on the territory that they propose exchanging for an illusion of peace, he said in his nightly video address. Putin relaxes citizenship norms for people of LPR and DPR regions. Russian President Vladimir Putin, on Wednesday, signed a decree softening laws for granting Russian citizenship to residents of Ukraine's Zaporizhia and Kherson. According to the new law, people from these two regions can apply for citizenship without fulfilling the basic criteria, like an applicant should be living in Russia for at least 5 years, have a source of income and pass an exam in the Russian language. Notably, a similar decree was also signed earlier for the residents of Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics. Lithuania freezes funds and shares of 13 Russian companies. In a major blow to Russian and Belarusian companies, Lithuania has frozen funds and shares of at least 13 companies related to sanctioned Russian businessmen. According to the Russian news agency, Interfax, the funds and shares of top companies including the Vidmentai Wind Park of Interraliatava Group, IDS Borjami Europe, and BMZ Baltia, the official representative of Belarusian Steel Works, have been. The media report said that the funds of the Vidmentai Wind Park, controlled by Russian energy giant Interral, have been frozen due to its connections with the Russian authorities. Liz Truss to address Bosnia and Herzegovina troops, warn West against appeasing Putin. As Russian invasion of Ukraine has entered its fourth month, UK Foreign Secretary Liz Truss is scheduled to travel to Bosnia and Herzegovina on Thursday to address the armed forces of the country on the Balkan Peninsula. Her visit aims to request the UK's Western allies to make sure that Russian President Vladimir Putin loses in Ukraine, according to a statement released by the Foreign Office late Wednesday. Truss will also warn against appeasing Russian President Putin. According to the Foreign Office, the British Foreign Secretary would stress that Russia's aggression cannot be appeased. It must be met with strength. We must be relentless in ensuring Ukraine prevails through military aid and sanctions. We cannot take our foot off the accelerator now. Ukraine's richest man to sue Russia for destruction of his assets worth $20 billion amid war. As the invading Russian forces destroyed the majority of their neighbor Ukraine's assets during the course of the ongoing war, civilians of the war-ravaged former Soviet state have been suffering from a lack of resources. Now, Ukraine's richest man Rinat Akhmetov is looking to sue Kremlin over the destruction of his assets. In an interview with NV, a local news platform, Ukraine's richest man stated that he is planning to file a lawsuit against Russia for destroying his assets, demanding appropriate reimbursement for all costs and loss. The pre-war valuation of the industrial assets possessed by Rinat Akhmetov, which were damaged by Russia during its invasion, surpasses $20 billion. Akhmetov said that assets such as the Azovstal steel plant, the Ilyich steel and iron works, the Avdiivka coke plant, the Luhansk thermal power plant and dozens of other industrial infrastructure and green energy facilities were partially or completely demolished since the onset of the. He further added that the pre-war market capitalization of two Mariupol enterprises, Azovstal, and the Ilyich steel and iron works was around $10 billion. Akhmetov also noted that there was $1 billion worth of raw materials that has been destroyed by Russia. It is pertinent to mention here that the Azovstal steel plant in Mariupol has been a key target of the Russian military operation. Vladimir Putin visits Russian soldiers who were injured in Ukraine, calls them heroes. In the midst of the Russian onslaught in Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin visited the Russian soldiers who were injured in the military operation in Ukraine and called them heroes. This is Putin's first such visit since he sent Russian troops to Ukraine on February 24. Putin spoke to soldiers at Moscow's Mandrika military hospital while dressed in a white medical coat. Following his meeting with the injured soldiers, Putin told government officials that these are individuals who are putting their health and lives on the line for the benefit of the Donbas people and children, as well as Russia. He further said that every single one of them is a hero. When Putin arrived, wounded servicemen dressed in Russian army pajamas stood stiffly by their cots, answering queries about their family. Putin shook hands with the men while accompanied by Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu. The Russian president also asked doctors if the injured Russian troops had everything they required, to which the doctors replied that they did. Shoigu said on Tuesday that Moscow is prepared for a protracted struggle in Ukraine to fulfill the Kremlin's objectives in the pro-Western country. On March 25, Russia announced that 1,351 soldiers were killed and 3,825 were injured in Ukraine. Since then, no report of Russian casualties has come from the Russian side. Putin also pledged expanded social welfare programs. He further said that pensions for non-working seniors would be increased by 10% in June, along with the minimum wage. However, analysts suggest that the measures will not prevent a significant loss in real income, according to Daily Mail. He did not mention the rising inflation due to Russia's war in Ukraine, which has pushed up energy and food prices around the world. Ukraine military claims Russian troops are trying to improve tactical situation in Izium. Ukraine Armed Forces in its latest operational briefing on the ongoing war updated that Russian forces have continued rampant shelling in Sumy and Chernihiv oblasts. The enemy is also trying to improve the tactical situation in the Izium area and resume the offensive on the city of Sloviansk, the report highlighted. ISW report claims occupiers in Kherson are forcing Ukrainians into Russian army. According to a report by the Institute for Study of War, ISW, Russian occupiers in Kherson are trying to force locals into joining. Russia to drop English language from school curriculum in Crimea, report. Speaker of the State Council of Russia-occupied Crimea, Vladimir Konstantinov, on Wednesday said that the region will drop the English language from the educational. During his announcement, the state councillor questioned the need of learning English if one will never go to London. Russia continues to lose gas market in Europe. US-based Sempra Energy in its press release on Wednesday said that Germany has inked a deal to purchase 25 million tons of gas per year as Berlin moves ahead to wean off Russian gas imports.